Hello and welcome back to another video. Christopher here from Dinosaurs with Christopher. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be covering Prehistoric Park review and breakdown video. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe, like this video, and ring that bell for all dinosaur related content. Once again, I am Christopher. I'm a dinosaur content creator on the internet, and I'm so glad to have you today because we're going to be talking about Prehistoric Park. For those of you that are new generations, alpha and beta, and all the new generations coming in, if you don't know what Prehistoric Park is, I have it with me. Prehistoric Park was a series, a short 6-episode series that occurred in 2006. It had 6 episodes. It occurred in July 22nd, which is coming up. So happy 18th birthday, Prehistoric Park. I'm just so excited to get in and talk about Prehistoric Park. So we're going to be talking about review, covering all 6 episodes, and then we're going to be breaking down the pros and cons of Prehistoric Park. Now, the sad thing about Prehistoric Park, which I'll cover at the end, is there's so much wasted potential of having a sequel. This only got 6 episodes and had a lot of missed story potential, with Nigel Marven, the star of Prehistoric Park, as you can see, wrong hand, the star of Prehistoric Park, Nigel Marven. And of course, there's so many beautiful faces in Prehistoric Park, but Nigel Marven is the main character. Now, who is Nigel Marven? For those of you who do not know, Nigel Marven is a wildlife conservationist, and he is pretty much like Steve Irwin, but he travels back in time. Now, the difference between Prehistoric Park and Jurassic Park is that Prehistoric Park uses time travel to time portal like sticks. They don't go into depth, thank goodness, because then that would take away from the show, I believe. So we're going to be covering each 6 episodes now. So the stars of Prehistoric Park are Nigel Marven, Park Keeper Bob, which takes care of the park and oversees it, and the head vet Suzanne. Now, unlike my old Prehistoric Park review, which I covered back during the pandemic days, I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of footage from Prehistoric Park because Prehistoric Park has a huge copyright on it, and I want this video to reach all around the earth, cover all over, and I just want everyone to know about what Prehistoric Park is, because Prehistoric Park is pretty much what made me the person I am today. And if Prehistoric Park had not existed, I would not be into prehistory. I would not be in the paleo community. That is the ever growing prehistoric loving community. And I would I would not be here. I would probably be one of those internet creationists like you see on the internet. So if it wasn't for Prehistoric Park, I wouldn't be here. So let's get started on each 6 episodes. 6 episodes. So the first episode of Prehistoric Park is T-Rex Returns. Now, T-Rex is the first dinosaur that is intended to come back to the park, but however, Nigel Marven winds up bringing a bunch of different Cretaceous period dinosaurs like Triceratops, Ornithomimus. The one thing I like about Nigel Marven in this episode is that he doesn't give up. He doesn't throw in the towel, and even when he brings back Ornithomimus, which are an bipedal dinosaur, I could go in complete dino nerd depth, but I'm not going to because this is not a dino nerd video. So I'm not going to go into scientific depth about each dinosaur because I don't have the time in this video. but if you want me to, and if this video gets a lot of likes, then I will go into, maybe I might make a dino nerd video of each dinosaur. But I am going out of town next month, which is why I'm making this video a little early, and it's going to come out scheduled as a premiere on my channel. So if you're watching this on the 22nd, keep in mind that I made this in June. So let's get started with reviewing episode 1. So episode 1, T-Rex Returns, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. Nigel Marven makes his first time travel to rescue dinosaurs for Prehistoric Park. I don't know why they said the Prehistoric Park. They should have said for Prehistoric Park. He must bring them back to the present day before the very meteor that brought about the extinction of the dinosaurs collides to Earth. So if you don't know about the extinction of the dinosaurs, I don't know why, but pretty much an asteroid, a very big ass asteroid came in, killed the dinosaurs. That's the short story of how the dinosaurs went extinct. So T-Rex Returns. I love this episode because Nigel Marven doesn't give up. He makes a promise to bring T-Rex back, although he does bring back Triceratops and Ornithomimus. He doesn't give up, and in the end he brings back 2 T-Rex back to the park. Not just 1, but 2 T-Rex. You're going to have to watch this episode for yourself. It is on the internet, and you can get it on Amazon, and I would highly recommend you watching episode 1. So overall, I give episode 1 a 10 out of 10. So moving on to episode 2, a mammoth undertaking. At the end of the last ice age, mammoths were already finding themselves ensued to the changing climate. Nigel finds a undying mammoth he must battle just to keep alive before he can return to the present day. So this episode is all about rescuing the mammoths that went extinct at the end of the last ice age. I'm not going to go into full depth of how many ice ages there were just for time's sake. Again, if you want me to cover it all completely, just say in the comments down below. Dino Nerd video / Prehistoric Park, all the creatures in Prehistoric Park, or something like that. So overall, I'd give episode 2 a mammoth undertaking. I absolutely love this episode. I'm going to be covering all the episodes in the breakdown, so you don't want to miss that one. Watch till the end. So I'd give Mammoth Undertaking a 9 out of 10. Although it wasn't as suspenseful as episode 1, I'd still give it a 9 out of 10 because it was really, really good. It was still a really good episode, and I'd give it a 9 out of 10. All right, episode 3, Dino Birds. 130 million years ago, there were a host of bizarre feathered dinosaurs. Nigel is determined to bring one of these back, but first he needs to get the treetops where they lived and feed. Okay, so this episode is all about the Microraptor. So if you don't know what a Microraptor is a feathered dinosaur that I believe lived during the early Cretaceous period. Now, don't quote me on that if I got that wrong, because I'm just for time's sake. Overall, I love this episode. I'd give it a 10 out of 10 because it had really good suspense with a volcano that came in at the end. Really climatic episode. Again, you're going to have to watch this episode for yourself. You could probably get this Prehistoric Park DVD on Amazon. Once again, Amazon is not sponsoring this video, which I highly recommend some sponsor should sponsor me. Maybe Amazon should sponsor this video. I don't know. But anyways, episode 3, 10 out of 10. Absolutely loved Dino Birds. All right, so episode 4, saving the saber tooth. I'd give this episode a 9 out of 10. It wasn't as suspenseful as episode 3. However, this episode was about Nigel Marven going back with Douglas Hamilton, I think her name was, travel back mere 100,000 years in South American history to study the saber-toothed cat in its natural habitat and try to stop the downfall of the species. So overall, I'd give this episode 4, a 9 out of 10. And you're going to have to see it for yourself because this I'm not going to spoil too much in episode 4. All right, moving on to episode 5, The Bug House. Nigel will need more than a butterfly net and a jar to catch these creepy crawlies. 300 million years ago, insects in the Carboniferous period were truly enormous. During the Carboniferous period, which was a part of the Paleozoic period, there were some really big insects due to the high oxygen levels that were once in the atmosphere 300 million years ago during the Carboniferous. There were large dragonflies called Maganura, large centipedes called Arthroplura. There were a giant amphibian, I think, called can't remember the name. There was just so much wildlife that Nigel Marven encountered in this episode, and I'd give episode 5 a 10 out of 10. It was really good and suspenseful towards the end. I really loved episode 5, The Bug House. Now, moving into episode 6, I believe episode 6, Super Croc, I'd give it an 8 out of 10 because I didn't really like the design of the Albertosaurus. And now, again, Albertosaurus didn't live in Texas. Nigel Marven travels back to Cretaceous, Texas, to capture a Deinosuchus, which was one of the longest prehistoric crocodiles to ever live on this planet. And it was a really big crocodile. The only thing that I'd say that would come close is Sarcosuchus, which was another large prehistoric crocodile that lived in Cretaceous, Africa. And overall, I'd give episode 6, Super Croc, an 8 out of 10 because I didn't really like the designs of the Albertosaurus. And Albertosaurus was at the wrong place, maybe at the wrong time. Yeah. And other than that, towards the end of episode 6, we were left on a cliffhanger that they never really explained, and I'm going to cover it at the end when we get to the conclusion about why there hasn't been a sequel of Prehistoric Park and where has Prehistoric Park been all these years? Where is the sequel? So the only negatives of Prehistoric Park are the shrink wrapping, the feathered dinosaurs, that there are not enough feathered dinosaurs. We only see feathered dinosaurs in episode 3, Dino Birds. There should have been feathers on the Ornithomimus in episode 1, but they didn't. They just fall for some of the creators didn't really put that much feathers on it. They didn't put feathers on the dinosaurs like the Ornithomimus. They shrink wrapped, and this was all 2006. During 2006, there's no excuse for that. So again, the only thing I'm going to give about Prehistoric Park is that they use wooden fences instead of metal fences like in Jurassic Park. Wood proves to be not a good fence material over and over, but Park Keeper Bob keeps using wooden fences, and it just time after time when Nigel Marven brings back Titanosaurs in episode 3, and he decides to put them in wooden enclosures, the titanosaurs, they break out, and it's just, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. So Park Keeper Bob should really go back to construction school and build better fences, hopefully when the sequel of Prehistoric Park comes out, because I really want there to be a sequel, and I'm going to cover that at the end of this video. So stick around to the end because you do not want to miss any single bit of this video. So now we're moving into the breakdown part of the video. All right, so number 1 of slide 1 of episode 1, Nigel Marven putting himself at risk just to look at T-Rex. This is a very bad idea. He got way too close to the T-Rex, and he merely made it out alive, as he usually does every single time with dinosaurs. Nigel Marven has never been eaten once. He has always escaped predatory dinosaurs, and he always does make it out alive, but he got really close to being munched here. So Nigel Marven, very risky here. All right. Number 2, this is a very cruel way of capturing dinos. I hope this sock isn't too stinky. He uses a method of capturing ostriches on the Ornithomimus, but this doesn't really look very humane. So I hope this sock wasn't too stinky when he tried to put it on the Ornithomimus, because you can see the expression on the Ornithomimus here, and it's absolutely priceless. All right, number 3, Nigel Marven being a bit too close and a little bit careless, causing him to get hurt by a runaway Triceratops. He does get hurt in episode 1, and he does get bruised up a bit. So Nigel Marven learning the hard way not to get too close to dinosaurs, otherwise they will hurt you. Okay, so moving on to episode 2 now. Episode 2, number 1 of slide 2, Nigel Marven putting himself at risk. Again, he didn't need to go into that cave, but Nigel Marven's curiosity got the better of him. Nigel Marven escapes a cave bear that should have been extinct by now, but he assumes this, and he winds up being chased by a cave bear up a tree, and then he has to apologize to the cameraman that he thought they were extinct by now, which is why you should never assume while being on a prehistoric adventure, because you never know what you might run into. All right, number 2 of slide 2, episode 2 of Prehistoric Park, Nigel Marven blows on a pipe instrument, and this is a bad idea because he could have germs and viruses that could affect the cave people of the Ice Age man. Now, I know many people don't give a lot of credit to cavemen, but cavemen, it's just like the Spanish and the Indians. Nigel Marven is bringing over germs and viruses from the 21st century back into the Ice Age, and when you think about that, that's a very bad idea, because he could be getting the people of that time period sick, and there would be no cure or no antibodies, and they would just pretty much, they would be toast. All right, moving on to number 3, Nigel Marven could have gotten impaled here. This is not safe for Nigel Marven at all. So when he tries to recover a woolly mammoth that got attacked by a tribe of cave people, or I don't know if they were Neanderthals or whatnot. They didn't really go into depth about who or what, but I guess it's not really that important. hurt the mammoth, but Nigel Marven rescues a mammoth and manages to bring it back to health. But however, he gets way too close, as you can see in this image, and he could have gotten impaled by this woolly mammoth. They're wild animals. They're not like people. Okay, number 4. Nigel Marven is not being safe here and putting himself in harm's way again. So Nigel Marven goes back to the Ice Age a second time, and he tries to get some Ice Age grass samples back for Martha the mammoth, as you can see in the third image. But he gets chased by an elasmotherium, and this turns out not to be safe. And this is really unsafe of Nigel Marven, and I care so much about his safety because if you don't understand, this guy is my childhood, and he really made my childhood in all childhoods of the 90s to the 2000s, early 2000s kids. All right, moving on to slide number 3 here. Slide number 3, episode 3 of Prehistoric Park. Parkkeeper Bob shouldn't have allowed Nigel Marven to keep the sauropods at the park after witnessing the damage that they can cause. Now, I've said this before and I say this again. Parkkeeper Bob used, I don't know what wood he used, but wood time after time doesn't prove to be the strongest building material. And Parkkeeper Bob doesn't learn at all. I don't mean to be too harsh on Parkkeeper Bob, but the Titanosaur completely bulldozes through this fence here. And Parkkeeper Bob, in my personal opinion, shouldn't have allowed Nigel Marven to keep the Titanosaurs because of all the damage they did while they were at Prehistoric Park. And I believe somebody made fan art of that. So you're going to have to check out that fan art, I believe, on Instagram and I believe Twitter too. So, moving on to episode number 4 now. In episode 4, Prehistoric Park, Nigel Marven calls Parkkeeper Bob on the walkie-talkie, but there is a problem afoot that Nigel Marven does not know about. Parkkeeper Bob made a weak enclosure for the sauropods, and they escape. So Parkkeeper Bob must quickly make haste and make sure that they don't escape the park. If Parkkeeper Bob would have used stronger building materials or designated a better enclosure, maybe they wouldn't have escaped and they would have been able to hear each other. I feel sorry for Nigel Marven here. Nigel Marven should have paid more attention to his surroundings. He could have gotten hurt. Never lower your guard on a prehistoric adventure. Never. Thank goodness Nigel Marven gets away from a toxodon when he travels back to prehistoric South America. A toxodon is a large prehistoric mammal from prehistoric South America during the Cenozoic period. Episode 4, slide number 4 of mine, Nigel brings along Saba Douglas Hamilton, who helps Nigel Marven with finding and capturing the saber-toothed cats. Saba gets too close to a saber-toothed cat, and it seems her luck. The sounds of the walkie-talkie make and scare the saber-toothed cat away, but they get way too close to another saber-toothed cat and nearly climb on to their car. So they get really close to the saber-toothed cats in this episode, but they are able to escape. I wish both of them would have paid more attention to what was around them in this episode and be more alert when it comes to going back in time with saber-toothed cats here. All right, moving on to episode 5, slide number 5, the bug house. Slide number 5. All right, if you want to go ahead and pause the video and read along all these texts, all of this text right here. Pause the video, stop it here right now. So I'll pretty much go over every single thing that goes on in each scene. Matilda and Terrence, the two T-Rexes that Nigel Marven brings back to the park, they get into a fight and Matilda winds up winning, and Nigel Marven has to get into the enclosure of the T-Rex enclosure of Prehistoric Park, which is extremely dangerous, and he could have gotten killed if the tranquilizer that Bob used to shoot Matilda didn't kick in at that time. He just gets himself into close shaves with dinosaurs, this Nigel Marven does. No disrespect to Nigel Marven here. He just gets himself way too close to danger. All right, in episode 5, Nigel Marven goes back to the Carboniferous period and climbs up a tree, which, if you want to pause the video and read all this text, go ahead, and I will continue on with the breakdown, last few parts of the breakdown. So let's jump into the last 2 slides, and then we'll end the video off with the conclusion. All right, episode 5, part 2 of episode 5, slide 2. Nigel Marven gets stung by a scorpion when he travels back to the Carboniferous. He puts a large prehistoric scorpion, in what appears to be some pet container, and it stings him. This could have been prevented if he was wearing leather gloves, just saying. If Nigel Marven would have worn gloves, maybe he wouldn't have been stung. A lightning storm sets the prehistoric forest around them on fire. Actually, the smoke wouldn't have been white. It would have been black due to the higher oxygen at that time. The forest would have burned much faster, and it would have been more scary to see if you were there. Nigel Marven finds out that the scorpion and venom won't hurt him because mammals haven't appeared yet. Synapsids would appear during the Permian. Mammals would diversify during the Mesozoic period and dominate the Earth during the Cretaceous period. So the scorpion venom turns out that it won't hurt Nigel Marven. I believe this was due to possibly highly likely plot armor that Nigel Marven carries with him in all of his prehistoric adventures. And he winds up being okay. So now we're going to cover the last slide of the breakdown part of the video, and then we'll conclude with the conclusion. All right, last slide of the breakdown video part. We have in this slide right here, and first of all, this enclosure is too small to hold a T-Rex. This is very inhumane and wrong. They have a transport vehicle with a trailer that is way too small for a T-Rex. His tail has to be curled up and this looks so inhumane. Oh my goodness, this is too small to transport a T-Rex. They should have had a better transport trailer, a much bigger one for the T-Rex here, but this is way too small for a T-Rex, and they should have made it bigger. So this is the last thing that I have to talk about and have to say in this breakdown part and get this out of the way. So yeah, this is the other thing besides Parkkeeper Bob's construction using wood, the shrink wrapping, the lack of feathered dinosaurs as there should be, and of course the very small and inhumane transport containers they have here is way too small for transporting a T-Rex. Oh, okay. I got that off my chest. Now we're going to dive into the conclusion here of Prehistoric Park review and breakdown. Here we go. This is the conclusion. All right, this has been a very long video. If you have stuck to the end, cheers to you. You have been such a great viewer, sticking to the end, watching this whole review and breakdown video of Prehistoric Park. And if you want me to make any review of any other dino documentary, leave it down below in the comments. I will see it. Okay, I will go through each and every comment, and there will be a documentary review video, more dino documentaries, but you have to leave the request in the comments. All you have to do is say the dino documentary's name in the comments and ask politely, of course, with a please, and I will cover that review. If you like this video, smash that like button and subscribe to Dinosaurs with Christopher, and catch all my other socials on Instagram, my other YouTube channels, and of course on Twitter. I am on Twitter at C Romano Official, I think it is. I don't know that by heart. I'm not too much on Twitter too much. So now we're in the conclusion part of the video. Prehistoric Park has been such a great dinosaur documentary, and I believe that if it wasn't for Prehistoric Park, if it had not existed at all, if it had not been made, and if Impossible Pictures went straight into making their other series that came after this, which stole the spotlight from Prehistoric Park, and they didn't make another sequel after that, after they got done making Primeval, which was a show that BBC and Pictures Impossible Ltd made in 2007, and it ran into the early 2010s. The only things that I have about Prehistoric Park is the creators. I absolutely adore the creators for making Prehistoric Park. However, as of now, I am really frustrated and upset with the creators of Prehistoric Park from procrastinating, and even after they were done making Primeval, they just went ahead and made Walking with Dinosaurs 2013, which I had no problems with. However, they do procrastinate, and yes, they do procrastinate, and there has not been a sequel or season 2 or volume 2 of Prehistoric Park at all. Nigel Marven himself did say in an interview with the Gaming Beaver, and I will put the video up towards the end of this video so you can find out why there has not been a sequel about Prehistoric Park. But if you already watched that interview, you can go on ahead. Yeah, I definitely say in this conclusion that if it wasn't for Prehistoric Park, I would not be here. And despite all my troubles with the creators of Prehistoric Park trying to get a sequel or season 2, I have really, this Prehistoric Park made me the person who I am today. And if Prehistoric Park had not existed, and if it had not been made, I would not be here. I would, yes, be into dinosaurs, but I would be into just the Jurassic franchise alone, and I would probably be one of those creationists that are on the internet. Highly likely. Yeah. So this has been the Prehistoric Park review and breakdown video. Cheers to you who stuck to the end of this video. Well done. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next dinosaur video that I make. And if you want me to make a dinosaur documentary review, ask politely below in the comments, and I will I will respond to you. I will. Okay? All right. So this has been Christopher here. I hope you enjoyed this video. And until next video, bye-bye. Bye.